Hi, this is Neil Sheth.
And I'm Katy Holmes, and this is the British Chamber of Commerce Dubai's podcast, Don't Do That, Do This. And we're bringing the membership to life, sharing stories of growth, success, and some lessons learned along the way as well.
Today we have Dustyn and Luke from HEMO Data, who set up the business in 2022, and they help organizations to leverage their data and transform it into a growth asset. Really looking forward to this conversation. This podcast wouldn't have been possible without the following teams. Rightfully for storytelling and thought leadership, Studio Red for the quality podcast studio and video production, and Sherbet Lemon for branding, social media design and editing. Amazing to have you guys, Dustyn and Luke from HEMO Data. So, first of all, what is HEMO Data? Can you explain it in a very simple way?
Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be participating in British Business Group or British Chamber of Commerce initiatives. So HEMO Data was founded 2 years ago by myself and Luke, really with the vision that we want to help this region kind of get up to the maturity of North America and Europe when it comes to the use of data. So we call ourselves a data solutions consultancy. And as a consultancy, we're looking at anything to do with kind of data, mostly customer data and that end-to-end journey. So that could be people, could be processes, could be technology, could be a combination of all three. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Okay. So putting that into hypothetical terms of a client case study. So say you were working with the British Chamber of Commerce Dubai. Data is our product, it's our gold. What would you do? What's your first approach to helping us optimize what we already have?
Are you getting free consulting?
I am getting free consultancy.
Always happy to help.
Yeah, with an invoice after the podcast.
So, it's a great question. So, lots of our customers obviously come to us and say, look, we don't know where to start. And so we will work with them to understand kind of what they're doing at the moment, but also how it relates to their business goals and objectives. So is your data supporting what you actually want from it? And that can look like structuring an exercise to go through a full evaluation, working with the teams. Again, build your objectives, understand your processes, and then put something together that says, look, you could actually be benefiting more from engaging your customers. So being able to understand what's driving your members, what's encouraging them to come back, how are different groups of those members behaving, and then how are you engaging them as well. And I think one of the things that customers, particularly that we see in this region, they're focused on actually being able to use that data for reporting, which is great and it gives you insight. But if your data's not structured in the right way, those reports will not be as effective. But also your data can be used for so much more than just reporting. Like I say, it should be thought of as an asset that you can use to actually drive your business and drive towards those goals kind of more effectively as well. So even the biggest companies to the smallest companies can actually start thinking about that and getting some value from it as well.
Is there like one or two key use cases for a small to medium-sized business that you found that they're not doing? There's a clear pattern here. And if they just did these one or two things, it's going to make a remarkable difference to their business.
Yeah, I think in terms of what we see, actually, the similarities and certainly from the medium-sized to the large-sized companies in terms of mistakes that are being made and like say things going in without thought. So companies putting in products without kind of thinking about how it supports their goals and objectives. It's that kind of tactical solutioning. And that can lead to kind of like having data in different parts of the organization and different systems. So like say, even smaller, medium-sized companies do this as well. And again, it can really limit your ability to make the most of that data. When you start getting to the larger organizations, especially having that kind of more formalized governance in place, just so the business is talking to each other. And we actually see that with when we're running our webinars and things to support our customers in how they're using some of the products that we work with. it's sometimes actually the first time that the business is actually talking to each other. And that's what it's about. If you don't, as an IT team, a data team, you don't understand what your business actually wants, how do you know what you're supposed to be giving them from that solutioning point of view? So it's very important that thinking about that.
Yeah, we're a small team, and a really easy example is we just moved over to Monday.com. This is not being sponsored by Monday.com, but that's what we moved over to for our CRM, for our sales CRM. And it's before I was using spreadsheets badly, because the last thing you want to do in sales, and Dustyn, you'll probably relate to this, is doing the admin afterwards, right? You want to win that sale and get that deal. That's where the dopamine and the energy comes from. And then you have to go into the spreadsheet. So I moved into Monday.com, and actually that's really helped. But more importantly, what I've seen as a difference is I can now collaborate because our team's already on Monday. So now my team can see what's going on with the deal. They can see the history. And more importantly, when I'm bad with admin sometimes and I'm out in a meeting, they can kind of go, hey, what's going on with this? Let's move this across. So that's probably a very simple, small example, I'm guessing, to some of the problems you guys have.
We're actually going through a very similar journey ourselves right now. So we've bought this kind of CRM, marketing automation, accounting software, HR software, and I think the big mistake that a lot of organizations make, especially the bigger ones, is that none of these tools are customized or configured in a way that's relevant for their use cases, right? So even we're only just going on this journey of buying all the right tech to kind of support all the right functions of our organization, but we've hired an external consultant to come and actually put this tool in a place with all of the right mapping, fields, journeys, integrations that help us kind of be efficient from marketing through to sales, right through to finance and invoicing, and everyone's kind of looking at the same source of data. That's exactly what we do for our customers. However, on a much bigger scale, we focus on kind of best of breed technology. So I think this region where we recognized in the beginning, and the reason we formed the company was around, we saw a huge gap in that even the biggest organizations who've got the right functions and businesses kind of set up had bought different technologies over time. So for marketing had bought a tool, product had bought a tool, sales bought a tool, finance bought a tool, but none of these departments are talking to each other. None of the tools are talking to each other. So like executives will sit in meetings and be like, well, no, we've got this view of the customer, and finance will go, well, no, we got this view, and marketing another view, and product another view. And so that's kind of the one of the key things we're helping folks do. And sometimes that's a technology problem. Sometimes it's as simple as taking an existing technology ecosystem and helping them integrate it. Sometimes there's gaps in technology, so they're trying to use a BI tool instead of an analytics tool for kind of understanding user behavior. So we'll help kind of put the right tool in place. Sometimes it's kind of building out that from scratch. So some of our customers don't have anything. I think we've even got some mutual customers in that space. So we where we help people get value from data, there are so many kind of aspects that could relate to, as I said, people, process, technology. Sometimes it's a combination of all of them. Certainly for the larger organizations, we're talking like the biggest brands in the region here. They have all the best technology. They just didn't implement it correctly. They didn't kind of build it out and customize it to their business or their use cases. Like everyone's definition, if you're looking at business objectives, your definition of growth, retention, engagement is different to ours, is different to the Chamber of Commerce's. So it's helping kind of understand what that looks like. Then we come in and talk about, okay, you've got a people problem here, or you've got a process problem, or you've got a technology problem, or combination, and then we can help implement that.
And I think that's actually one of the things some of our customers are quite surprised about when we start working with them, because we'll leave the technology to the last part, right? Technology is an enabler to meeting your objectives, but if you don't have everything aligned to kind of actually how you want to work and where you want to go and those other things in place, then you don't know what technology you need to support that. So when we are going in with our customers talking about, your organizational structure, when they're expecting a kind of data technology discussion, it can be a kind of like, okay, here you go, why are we talking about this? And then you go through the steps and it kind of is obvious. So your point about having things on spreadsheets, you'd be surprised at the amount of, like, say, large global organizations that we work with that will have like say this capability, but they're still running extracts onto Excel sheets and then building their business processes around Excel sheets. Of course, then you have multiple different versions, different sets of data, and having kind of a clear view of actually what is going on is very, very difficult.
So it's quite a holistic audit that you provide then. So then you can look top down and then fix the solution is then technology, but you're also looking at, do you look at culture as well? Because I'm sure there might be some resistance as well with some of the key stakeholders within that company of, I don't want to change, or it's their fault, or it's their issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things we have to go through. Sometimes when we're going into customers, there can be a little bit of a resistance when you're working with the teams. They think we're there to trip them up or catch them out. And that's not the point. The point is to understand actually where they are and, help them get out of that, because, these guys are so focused on their day to day that they can't take that step back to be able to see it. And, we always kind of position that, you're the team that's helped take the business take a step forward by actually doing this exercise and recognizing that you need help to be able to use your data more effectively. So that kind of initial resistance is something we come up against, but then quite often, halfway through the process, the team's like, we get it. We see where we need the help, and actually we get some good results out of it. So it's then really great to see when you've done that bit and can move on to getting the improvements. It's
it's like collective sigh of relief.
Well, one of the projects we're working on at the moment, which relates quite well to that, is there's a customer who 2 years ago spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars cleaning their data, and then we're now working with them because 2 years later they're in the exact same place as they were 2 years ago, because they didn't change any of the processes, put the right people in place, get the right technology. So it wasn't kind of future-proofed. It was like a very kind of, how can we fix this problem now? Didn't really think about what 6 months or year or 12 months or 2 years looks like. And it ended up being a huge waste of their investment to only be back in the same position. So that's the kind of pitfalls we're trying to help our customers avoid, is like, okay, is what are all the elements that can affect this today, tomorrow, a year's time, and then setting them up for success in the long term as well.
So obviously the processes is really important, but what about the data collection? And what the horror stories you've heard around that? And we can also touch, you've mentioned governance before. So if you could, 2-part question, horror stories for data collection, and then what's the governance and what's coming that could make a difference to that element?
I think in terms of the collection, again, you have to know what you want to do. You have to have an objective. Common one for us that we see with our customers, especially when we're having initial discussions around, say, mixed panel, for example, with that behavioral analytics going, I want to track everything. We have to get everything. And we say, well, okay, you don't have to track everything. What you need to do is track what you need to support your objectives. And quite often the customers that we do see that are trying to track everything are the ones that are struggling to get any kind of insight from their data. It's too much and it's too messy. One of our customers has a significant amount of login tracking, and so when the business people are trying to understand a report on how many users have logged into the platform, they don't know what they're supposed to be tracking, and unless they know all of the points for login, almost certainly every report that is run about login is going to be incorrect. So it's very important to, again, kind of structure your data to your objectives, and then make sure, once you've done that, make sure you've got the controls in place to be able to maintain that quality, because as we were saying, there's no point in starting off well and then letting it all fall a bit kind of 12, 24 months down the line. You need to have those processes in place right from the start. So a lot of our technology partners don't necessarily like me saying this, but one of the things they say is like they will say, you can deploy this technology in 20 minutes. Yes, from a technical point of view, in most cases, you can deploy some of these things in 20 minutes. Whether that will be giving you value in a year or 24 months is going to be questionable.
It's the strategy behind it.
It's the strategy behind it. It's the homework. Doing your homework up front is going to pay dividends down the line. And it's like, if you skip that bit, yeah, I'll have some lights on quicker. But again, the results won't necessarily be quite as good.
So just talking about setting up businesses for success, let's talk about yourselves. So HEMO Data, you launched a few years ago. We met through the British Chamber of Commerce. Have known you guys from the very beginning and have seen your journey to growth really fast, which is amazing. Just tell us about your story of how you guys met, why you launched HEMO Data, and then we'll get into the growth aspects a bit later.
So Luke and I have probably known each other for about 3.5 years. We both like cars, and so we race in a go-karting league, Fats and the Furious, if anyone would. And I do beat Luke. But so we met karting, and then like one day we were just after karting we were chatting about, what do you do? And I just exited a previous company who was bought by private equity. So I took a 4 months off and became really good at golf and was just a dad for a bit, which was a nice break. Yeah. And I was half thinking about, do I want to start my own business, but also interviewing at the same time. And Luke had already kind of set up a business himself, which is another company we owned. And then one day we just kind of, like, there was almost this light bulb moment where I was like, well, actually, I'm a sales guy. I don't know much about how the mechanics of technology works. And Luke's the exact opposite.
What was your past job?
So I've been in sales, for sales and marketing for most of my career.
Not in this industry, not in data.
In technology. So product tech, martech, ed tech and fintech are kind of the areas I've had experience in. But Luke's background is very technical. So like there's not much Luke doesn't know about the mechanics of how most technologies work. So there was almost like this light bulb moment of, maybe there's something here. I was actually interviewing for who's now one of our partners called Mixpanel. And they didn't have any kind of desire to put people on the ground in the region. But the CRO at the time said, well, look, if you're starting your own company, we're happy to give you the reselling rights for the region. And you can be our on the ground team. So when Luke and I discussed that, we looked at the tech. Luke fell in love instantly, and we were like, well, why not? Let's try do it. So that kind of very quickly evolved into reselling Mixpanel. We then looked at like what are all the technologies that complement Mixpanel. So we started building partnerships with all of those. And before you knew it, we had like 10 plus partners around the kind of MarTech and product tech space. So that's kind of how.
So in essence, it's you focus on the implementation, and your partners focus on the technology.
No, so we do it all now. So for folks like Mixpanel, we are now the market management partner. So we're not just reselling it. We manage the implementation, onboarding, account management, customer success, and renewal. So. Right. Every single customer who uses Mixpanel across the GCC works through HEMO Data. And it's a really smart move from Mixpanel, right? Because if you, a lot of the customers in this region don't really get that intimate, personalized approach to support. And so often you'll buy technology and you have to wait for Europe to come online, or in some cases, North America. And so that's frustrating for customers. So customers love it because we're able to build communities. Like we do a quarterly in-person event called Office Hours, where we bring users of Mixpanel at our office and we run workshops. We're able to go and do implementations on site with customers. We're in Saudi at least once a month because there's a big customer base there. So customers love it. It means Mixpanel are able to retain customers a lot easier because customers feel loved. Yeah. And just by kind of proximity to the region, there's only 35 customers in the region. Whereas if they were managed internally in Mixpanel, they'd probably be managed by an account manager somewhere in Europe who had 250 accounts to look after. We're looking after 35, right? So we're just able to do a much, much more intimate kind of approach to it.
Is it like was it a marriage made in heaven as co-founders? Like, one of the key things in building a great business is the two get along.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got a story behind this. So I believe in signs and actions.
Yeah.
And so when Luke and I met after karting, it was a very, very quick kind of decision to start the business. Where I grew up in Zimbabwe, and one of my kind of mentors and heroes was my granddad, right? And I spent a lot of time with him as a kid, and he used to breed chow chows, the dogs, chow chows. So I've grown up with these chow chow dogs, know them really well. And so Luke and I went for a coffee in Ranches, was it Hamptons? And then he was like, oh, why don't we go see the office? Because he had already got this box office in Arjan, but we had to go get the keys from his house first. Anyway, I walked into the house, and the first thing that greeted me is a chow chow. And I was like, do you know what? This is a sign. Granddad's telling me to go ahead. And so for me, that was the moment. I was like, I don't care. Like,
chow chow.
I'm just going to jump in, and this must be my granddad telling me something.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, no, and it was. I think for both of us as well, it's when you realise that the other person you're working with feels that kind of that expertise and that area that you just totally have a blank on. And I think that's where, as things have developed, we've actually worked really well together, because there's quite distinct kind of roles and areas of expertise and responsibility and things that we care about, and obviously things that the other one don't like. So it's always worked really well from that point of view. And that was one of the things when we were talking about starting the business. It was kind of like, that is something. I mean, when you start a business, right, you need to do sales and marketing, right? But actually, how do you do that? And that was the bit when we started talking, was actually, this is a total area where the depth of it had just totally escaped me. And that's the expertise that Dustyn brings along as well, particularly in relevance to, our business focus. And, even from those starting moments, I mean, there's been very little that we've ever actually disagreed on or conflict or anything like that. So because it just is a relationship that that really works.
I've got the perfect title for this: business bromance.
It does help that we get along. I think we've also got a really good reputation with our partners of being the HEMO Data boys, the last two standing.
So, and behind the HEMO Data boys, what's your team size then to manage all of these accounts? And what's your growth? What's
So last year was kind of a figure it out year, right? We incorporated in October 2022. So the first 4 or 5 months was kind of build up to Christmas, right? Who do we want to partner with? Let's kind of get the rules of engagement set up with Mixpanel, and you kind of like learning a lot first 4 months. So really we count our kind of first year from January to December last year. And so in the beginning it was just Luke and I. We had a contractor come on, which is actually a really cool story behind Hamza. He was a customer. He loved what we did and how we supported him. One day he rang us and he said, I'd love to work for you guys. And we said, well, we don't really have a role now, but we can pay you on the side to do like side projects. So he did like a couple of months and he was so good. Then we said, right, we need you on board full time. So he was based in Lahore, Pakistan. And then we brought him on board full time about mid last year. And then he rang us again and he said, like, my dream is to live in Dubai with my family. And we were like, okay, if you come on this journey with us, we'll make that happen. He actually moved to Dubai 3 months ago, and he's super happy.
Amazing.
So we're kind of like, and I hope we can talk about culture and stuff later, but that's kind of like what we want to try and do is build that company where people love what they do, and we care about both professional and personal growth. But going back to the question, and then we hired like a part-time salesperson last year who was doing like 3 days a week, about September. So beginning of this year, there was 5 of us. As of today, there's 20.
Gosh.
So this year has been explosive. Last year was hard because obviously as a startup, you don't take any money out of the business. You're kind of pumping it back in, trying to make sure you're present at events. It's like there's always a cost every single day with the startup. But this year it's exploded. We've already, by the end of July, we had 4x'd the revenue from last year.
Brilliant.
The
Congratulations.
the team's four times the size as it was beginning of the year. And a huge pipeline of opportunities to come in. And very, very, very happy customers. Like every customer loves working with us. We're making a huge impact on what they're trying to achieve. And it's just leading to doing more and more with the same customers, but then word of mouth gets us into other opportunities. And it's been exciting.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like that growth as well, we've tried to do it quite sustainably. And as business owners, they say the first year we're kind of thinking about, we're effectively, blowing our savings, right, and hoping it will work out. So, you have those kind of risks and stresses on top of that. And then actually they shift. And when you start bringing the team on board, your kind of priority shifts for them. How do we make sure that we're now building the business in a way that's sustainable, that doesn't also put them at risk? Yeah. So your responsibilities and your stresses kind of move. And I think the way that we've approached that kind of growth is to, like say, to do it sustainably, make sure that we have that kind of longevity in the pipeline roadmap activities, so that we know that we're not putting them and their families at risk as well, because then it's not, the two of us kind of getting it wrong and we've kind of done it to ourselves. It's you're impacting everyone else. So that's been a big kind of driving point of how do we achieve that kind of growth while also looking after the people that decide to work for us and not one of the bigger companies.
Yeah.
Because some of the guys we've got from working with us are, they're all awesome. And they could be working for, those big brand names that we all know and recognize. But they've made the decision to come and work with us and support our growth. So, we need to be able to give that back and look after them as well and show them that kind of leap of faith was worth taking.
So let's talk about culture, because it's something really close to my heart as well, and it's how I manage my team, and it's all about bringing the full person to work so you can support them, and obviously sharing your own struggles and vulnerabilities as well. And then through that, then you create the culture, which then is why you're saying your clients are so happy, because the people you've got working for you are ultimately content in what they're doing. Do you have core principles or values that you all kind of align to, or is it just that you're just nice employers? Like what do you?
Well, I guess the itch I was trying to scratch when I thought about starting my own company was around, I had burnt out, completely overloaded, and you kind of put everything you've got into a company that at the end don't really care about you, right? And you're just another number. So I was kind of at the stage where for the first 2 years of my daughter's life, I was on a plane or in a hotel. I wasn't really present. I wasn't really involved, and I needed something to change, right? And I felt like by starting a company, that's something that I can control, rather than working for some other CEO who's going to kind of run you into the ground again. And Luke had a very similar experience, right? So when we met, we were like, okay, well, look, we're dads first. Like we do the drop off every day and the pickup as much as we can during the week. Like I want to be at my daughter's swimming lessons. I want to take her to her gymnastics. Luke does the same with his kids. And so kind of when we started the business, we're like, right, well, we're going to build a business that kind of allows us to be present dads and partners first. And that's what we wanted to build for our team members as well. So we deliberately decided to bootstrap the business rather than take investment, because we both agreed that if we can get to, I don't know, let's say our number to get to was 10 million. If it takes us 5 years to get there rather than 2, we're okay with that, right? Because as long as we've got a healthy balance in life. So we do have some very defined values, and I'm just trying to remember all of them.
They're so ingrained. This is when you show me your joint tattoos.
Yeah, but we have this. We did our company all hands yesterday, and it's the first slide I show every time, and the last slide to finish the all hands. And it's curiosity, integrity, teamwork, honesty, and there's 2 more: respect, and one more.
Yeah, the other one.
the other. I'll get a lot of stick from this.
That's the one you don't care about.
But we're even going to get them as decals on the wall at the office.
Nice.
But that's kind of what we want to build. And so, like, I think this feeds into our customers. Like, we want everyone on our team to love what they do. So we really put an emphasis on like our recruitment process.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hire someone who's just looking for another job. I want to hire someone who sees like, wow, you guys are actually making a difference. I can see your vision, and we want to come on that journey with you, right? So We, as Luke said, we can't offer packages like the big boys can in the space that we operate in. But what we can offer is that kind of that family feel to an organization rather than just being another number. And our customers feel that because we also have an obsession with customer experience. Like, we only want to deliver outstanding results. And when Luke said he drives the team hard, it's because like that's going to be the continued growth of our organization is our customers. So I think the team are bought into that. Again, so far, everyone kind of gives us great feedback all the time.
Yeah, and I think
To our faces anyway. And it is payday.
Should we bring them on the pod without?
And I think that's one of the things, though. So we're saying about obviously the team and the team structure, that the team have responsibility and ownership of the work that they're doing, and we always say our job is solving customer problems, right? And helping the customers grow. So that's what we're saying. Actually, the technology is just an enabler to that. We have to think about the problem and how we do that. And for our team, I think some of the team coming over to work for us initially, it was a bit like the customer has these problems. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? And helping them see that actually it was theirs to kind of own and develop and resolve. And again, the feedback that we've had has been quite good on that. They like having that sense of ownership and being able to drive that forward. The other side of it is that it helps us because between the two of us now and the growing team, we don't have time to kind of sit over everything. So we can't be those managers. And when we are bringing new people into the team, actually personality is as important as their skills. And because that's a big part of, if you've got the mindset to kind of go after something, understand that this is a challenge, and actually how can we address it. And I actually had a discussion with one of the team members yesterday where he had come to me and said, look, we've got this problem with the customer. It's causing all of this kind of reactive work, but here's the solution of how I think we can make it better. And I was like, brilliant, let's present it to the customer and we'll work on that plan, and we'll make sure we create that buffer that while the plan is in progress, we can manage that kind of reactive churn, but then we can actually really address their needs. And so that's the kind of drive that the team have. And then I think they realize that they're actually contributing something. They can visibly see the growth that they're contributing to with HEMO Data. And, and when we are moving over, we've recently moved into our new offices, and it's, so much nicer as an environment than our previous one. So again, that's a tangible, visible
part of the journey.
That they're on, that they can see that they've contributed to. So again, I think the feedback that we've had, at least from the team, is they like being able to see that. Whereas again, being as part of a much larger organization where maybe you are just a bum on a seat, or that
you're forgotten.
Yeah, it's more difficult to see your own personal contributions
And the impact, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, I think from talking to the team, that's one of the things that they do really like.
Yeah, so this is quite timely. So I had a funny situation just a few days ago. I actually had a chat with the guy yesterday. But so we just hired someone last week, and on Friday, I was slightly confused. He works from home, he does his prayers, then he works from home, and then he was planning to come into the office. And so I start on Friday. This is our first Friday working together. And usually our team in Slack say morning, just so we know when we can ask for help or collaborate. And so we're very flexible. You can start whenever you want, as long as, you start, right? So usually he starts in the morning on a Friday, and he wasn't around. So I was like, what's going on here? This is his first week. So, found our first thought, red flag. Is there an issue here? I hope he doesn't listen to this. Well, actually, he doesn't mind, because we had a chat yesterday. But so about 11 o'clock, I went, I'm not going to message him because I'm going to look like, because I've already told him I don't like to micromanage. I just hire amazing people who manage themselves and manage me and tell me how my ideas are bad and how we could do it better. That's generally the type of people we hire. So about 11:30, now I'm going, actually, there's something wrong here. So I messaged him and said, are you working? Or when do you plan to start? And he messaged back and he goes, No, I'm just having my usual spa Friday morning.
Wow.
And then I'll start in the afternoon after prayers, and then I'll usually work on the weekend. Okay, that's quite cool. If you want to do that, don't really mind, but just tell me, right? As opposed to me running around here or thinking what's going on. So anyway, it was a nice chat we had yesterday. And he actually thought he told me, and I was like, yeah, I didn't know. I'm very happy for you to do that. We don't need you to be around any clients or a particular time. It's kind of up to you, right? So this is timely because you talked about how you've got flexibility with your daughters and your family. So how do you apply it? Because I was having this conversation with him and I couldn't articulate it yesterday. And it was along the lines of, look, I'm not interested in micromanaging. I actually don't care about your time. Technically, you were only here for a couple of weeks, so there's a period of I need to be able to fully trust you. And then my role is
trust is so important.
The more I like you. Like if I don't talk to you, that means I'm not getting involved in anything you do. But there's that trust period, right? But we need to do the basics, right? We need to get the basics. So how do you do that in your world? Because you're applying it to yourself. And that's easy because you guys are founders, right? And this is what I was finding yesterday. I was like, this is easy for me, but how do I articulate this to the person that there's something there? It's not full flexibility. So what do you do?
So we're actually going through this right now because the team has grown significantly this year. I think, we talk about that during an interview, like, hey, there's flexibility. Like you should be a family person first, either a mum or a dad, and then work around that. But it's also clearly communicated, like we're paying you a full-time salary, right? We're paying you to work Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day. How you do that is kind of up to you. But the flexibility is there. And you are always at risk of some team members abusing that, especially as you grow bigger and bigger. But I think a key element to that is also leading by example, right? So Luke and I are arguably in the office more than anyone else. So making sure that you're kind of present and you're there, or if you're not in the office, at least online, you're on the meetings you should be. And then regularly talking about it, right? We had to mention it on the all hands yesterday, like, guys, okay, it's been 2 months, not many people were in the office because of summer, but we've got a huge hill to climb this year. We need everyone kind of committed to helping us achieve this. And if we do, we'll celebrate together. So we've put some nice incentives in place.
Nice.
And so rather than kind of individually call people out, like let's kind of make this a team thing, give everyone the opportunity to step up, right? And if someone's abusing it, then we'll have to sit down and either individually talk to people or put in place a stricter policy, and it's up to the team to define what that looks like, right? So right now we're kind of like still, guys, the default should be come into the office. If you need to, I don't know, take your dog to the vets, or if you need to, the air conditioning person's coming around to fix the aircon, like fine, like those are exceptions, but you shouldn't be going furniture shopping during the day.
Yeah.
Be kind of like, going.
So you wouldn't allow this spa treatment every Friday morning?
I think he's got it all right. So that's a great way to end the week.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Like, and again, every now and again, like, okay, but what I don't want is the team to be like, oh, I can't be bothered to go and so I'm just going to work at home, or because then people start coming online at 10:30, 11 o'clock and like going off at 4 because they're going to go see their mate at the pub, or like, I think it's easy to spot it when it does start getting abuse, and then you can jump on it. But we've kind of like clearly communicated that, guys, we've been super flexible over the summer, like hardly anyone's been in. Now's the time that we all need to kind of double down and get it done, right? Because our success will be their success, and we want people to come on that journey. So yeah, I think the team received it really well, and there's no kind of complaints. We'll see how everyone kind of manages that, and I think it comes down to the maturity of the team as well.
And so key about from hiring from the very start. So quite often members will have this exact same conversation as how do you monitor to make sure it works, because you don't want the minority ruining it for the majority when everyone's working really well. And quite often I'll say, and I know it's easy said than done, but it's at that hiring process, it's looking at the person in front of you thinking, can I trust you to work remotely? And if you can't, then why would you hire them in a way? So trust is so critical. And I think I'd like to think that people have their internal barometer, which is work-life balance. And yeah, like you say, the furniture shopping is a good example. Like, that's not a good example. Then say if they have worked all weekend and they couldn't go furniture shopping, they'll know deep down what the payoff is. But then they should be talking to you about it in case they're spotted by a client in, Pan Emirates or whatever it is.
Well, exactly. And I think that you raise a really valid point there, right? Because what you don't want is people to come in at 9 and then finish at 5 and then that's it, right? It's like we have deadlines, we have projects. Sometimes the team do need to work evenings, weekends. And to be fair, the team are brilliant at kind of stepping up when we need to.
Yeah, this weekend being the private.
So we don't want to take away that flexibility. But we also want to we want the team to be like, okay, look, we're still a startup, right? We're still only 20.
Yeah.
As we grow, we start building people, like we've got a marketing person. So as the marketing function grows, like by default, if Artie does a great job, then we could build a team around her. So we need her to be a leader, right? From today and like make sure that she's kind of present. And same with like the other team members, like there's a huge opportunity, and this is part of our commitment to help people in their kind of professional growth is like, let's make you leaders, let's make you kind of manage teams, and everyone's excited by that. But you have to kind of behave like a leader today, right? You can't, you
have to go through the grind. You have to feel it.
And by the way, I don't think anyone is kind of really abusing it, but I think people are seeing Luke and I as like super relaxed about it. Reality.
You always need boundaries.
Yeah, we need to kind of
setting those, reminding those, and like I say, we have the all hands sessions. I say we had one of them yesterday, which is just a really good way of keeping the team involved in where we're going, what we've been doing. And because obviously, like I say, when we were smaller, everybody knew what everyone was working on, exactly where everything was all of the time. And so, now that's just not possible. And the all hands meetings are obviously very important to bring the whole business together. And then with the delivery team, I have sessions every week just with the team, just to say who needs help, what's been kind of going on. And, we're going through the projects, but it's like, has anyone found anything that they're struggling with or needs extra help with or anything like that? So just trying to make those conscious efforts to allocate time to the team. It gets more difficult as you get bigger. So you have to kind of like say, think about it a lot more so you can, remind and have those conversations on the culture we want to build and the behaviors we want to see as well.
And also I think it's important to highlight that when you're a company owner, you really care, like really, really, really care about every single intricate detail. When you're an employee, and I've been an employee, like I would do everything I could to be like fly under the radar, right? So you've got to kind of almost take a step back from being a business owner sometimes and be like, okay, well, we can't expect everyone to have the same level of care that we do. But we can take an active role in coaching them to like, what is the standards that we need them to work towards? And that's what I think we both do really well. You with the delivery team, me with the sales and marketing team, is like sitting there and going, okay, rather than putting someone down and say, that's not good enough, actually going, okay, let's use this as a training session. Let's talk about like, okay, this is how I would do it, and this is what I want to see. What's your ideas? How can you contribute? Do you have anything that you can add to make this even better? And then giving them ownership to go and execute on it is a really good way to kind of give people that authority that they're actually making a decision.
It's purpose as well, isn't it? And we should also do a shout out for the multinational corporates that are doing a great job of this as well. So, and as an example, Pinsent Masons has something called the Mindful Business Charter. And that as a law firm, as you can imagine, the out of hours expectations are great, but or aren't great, I should say. So they have very, very clear principles that everybody signs up to, which is these are my working hours. But then I think it's Deloitte actually does a meet for every project, everybody gets together and it's bringing the full person to work. So you get to know that one person might not be available between 3 and 4 because that's when they pick up their kids, or somebody else needs to call their mother back in India at a certain time, so they're offline. And actually, the process of that, exactly what you're doing, but I just felt it was fair to give a shout out to the large corporates that are trying and are doing what you're successfully doing, it seems, as well.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things when you see some of that be given back to you by the team, right, in terms of like the cultures and the expectations. So there's one moment that really stands out for me when we had this big project in from a potential customer, and we were looking at it and sat there thinking, I think this is too big for us. I don't think, as the size we are now, we're in a position where we can take this on. Maybe we position carving parts of this out that we know we can do. And, you know, the team came back to me and they were like, no, we can do this and we can structure this in a way where we can get this done. And this is what it looks like. Wow. And, you know, we will support you in doing this, right? So to have that come full circle back to us from the team. And it was kind of, you know, a real, like, you know, kind of kick to me where I'm like, what a brilliant team we've built, right? Yeah. They're you know, they've really taken to our cultures and they're pushing us to kind of, you know, challenge ourselves and also kind of...
It's almost like parenting, isn't it? They're growing up, and, you know, saying, we can do this, we don't need you as much.
Play golf more.
I would, well, yeah, maybe not the golf thing, but yeah, I don't see that happening anywhere.
So, really enjoyed this conversation. So as we wrap up, what's next for HEMO Data?
We keep sending each other pictures of boats. We're a few years away. No, jokes aside, I think like we've got a few major projects on at the moment, which we need to deliver successfully. Those should all lead on to more work. But in the meantime, because we've had such a strong start to the work this year, we're just trying to structure the business so that all of the functions are ready. So we've got fully functioning accounting and finance team now, a CFO in place. We've got an HR department now. So again, I think in terms of leading with culture, that's an important function for us. We've just hired more new salesperson, got a fully functioning marketing department. So we're just building the pillars of the business. And then by default, sales and marketing, we really kind of double down on that and should hopefully help us grow to the next stage. And
I think actually one of our newest hires was asking me about this, and he said something similar. You know, where do we see the business? And it's always a difficult one to answer. But the answer I gave him at the time was, you know, we're solving customer problems, and you know, we built the business into what it is now, and we will keep doing this and seeing, you know, how far we can go. You know, pushing ourselves, challenging ourselves, but trying to build that, you know, that culture and that excellence of delivery to our customers in solving those challenges, and we'll see where that takes us. So I think that's probably quite relevant as well. And then, you know, outside of HEMO Data, because of the data, you know, governance work and data strategy work that we're doing, we were talking about it earlier, where we're now the founding company of DAMA DXB, which is the Global Data Management Association, and we'll have the local Dubai chapter as well. So that's about, again, building a community of data professionals that we can bring together. And like I say, it's separate from obviously HEMO Data, but in terms of building that data community, I think is a very important project for us as well. So, you know, that's something that we'll be doing in the next year as well.
That sounds like the S and the G of ESG. In terms of what you're able, you know, environment, social governance, that you're able to tick those boxes. I'm sure you're doing your bit for carbon emissions as well, but that's something that we would love to share more information on what you're doing for members to also feel, those that want to give back, and the governance is so important with data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll be profiling you in the newsletter hopefully soon.
Yeah, very good.
But thank you so much. Really enjoyed getting to know the business a bit more, getting to know yourselves as well. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks guys. Good luck with it.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Cheers.